I think as human beings, we've got to accept once things get better for you, it's easy for you to forget what you came from and to look down upon everybody who's still struggling where you are struggling. And unfortunately, our own people in our country don't do us any justice in the way they support these people. And I'm not saying they shouldn't. People should go to any church. But once they relate with them, we are treated as second-grade pastors, you know.
Well, hello, friends. Welcome to our community podcast. We are so excited that you are with us. We are so excited that you have joined us today. Part of our excitement is our topic today. So our topic today, usually what we're trying to do actually is to review sermons, good sermons that are being preached so that people can be able to see that there are still good churches where they are preaching Christ crucified, because there's a lot of people that are preaching the word of God, and most or some of them are doing it wrongly, so that they can make money out of people. But the whole point of reviewing sermons is to show you that there are churches and pastors that are preaching the authentic word of God. So today, however, we're going to be looking into Bishop Musa Sono's statements when he was talking about his journey in ministry, and we're going to be looking at the racist side of the statements that he makes. Not he was being racist, no, not that, but then the experiences that he has faced within the church, racism. And we're also going to be looking into the question that is asked by Bishop Khoza to say that have we changed since the liberation of the struggle, or from the struggle? Have we changed since post 1994? And he's speaking about the church. He's not speaking about the country. He's speaking about the church, that we are facing these things within the church. And he makes statements such as second grade pastor, meaning that in other instances where there are white pastors, we are considered second grade pastors as black pastors. And also that when white churches are given power by black presence, for instance, people are driving 20, 40 minutes to go to a particular white church, and they give them power over a black church. But he doesn't say it directly, but you can sense it within his wording. So I want us to be able to look into that so that we can be able to see that community podcast is all about what is affecting the church inbound and outbound, and racism is there within the churches. I once worked for a white church, so I know that racism is there, right? So today we'll be looking on that full teaching. That full interview is, I will put it on the link on my description, but it is hosted by Bridging Gaps by Bishop Khoza. And I'm excited about this because I watched this. It's 2 weeks old now, but I watched it last week. And I was really within the conversation, learning as a young pastor the kinds of circumstances that the older generation of pastors went through and are still going through even today. And they are afraid that we will go through them as well. So stay with me. Remember, subscribe, hit the notification button, and let's grow this community together.
It's that survival thing.
Yes.
Everybody wants to be a voice.
Yes.
Everybody wants to be the lead person. Everybody wants to be leader number one. Everybody wants to be the spokesperson.
Yes.
I think, when I look at us, I look at the nation of Israel, children of Israel, the generation that left Egypt, wasn't the same as the one that got into the promised land. Yeah. So there are certain things with our generation we have to accept, Bishop. They may not be attainable because we've been affected. It's not many people who will come out of Olemalahu. We must just accept, but we can't erase the fact that we've been pioneers. We can't change the fact that many of our age group, I mean, I think of some of the people I know who went into different communities and started churches that are word of faith. They were insulted, they were called names, but they started. Some of them, after 40 years, they totally disintegrated. Yeah. But they started, and the younger people came up. The sad thing is when those younger people come up, they don't even affirm those. Yes. They don't talk about them. It's like, no, you know, God, whatever. And I say, but why don't you honor this man? It may be that he is discouraged, his family has broken, but we can't erase what he has done.
That's true. Just by looking into the video that you just saw right now, you can see that everything was well prepared. I think they prepared the bishop that this is what we're going to be talking about when you come over. And but the clip that I want to start with right now, you know, he speaks on white people telling us stories, right? And it's imperative that we understand that when someone else tells your story, they omit some things so they can either benefit them or they don't remember it. One of those two, right? So I want us to take a look at what he says here.
History is written about Gaddafi and all that, and it's written by white people. I take it with a pinch of salt. Because you need to go into those communities and hear about their leaders. I refuse for any white person to affect me in my thinking. I've traveled too much around the world to know the side that they don't talk about. Because let me give you an example. There are many white ministers who were launched into ministry by black leaders. I won't say it because it's on a program, but you probably know what I'm talking about. This person who learned from someone in this country to operate in signs and wonders doesn't even mention that person in their book when they write about their journey. Why leave it? Why? It's such an important part of ministry, where your ministry you change to operating in the supernatural. But when you write your history, the black person is very important. These things because you realize it seems that there's an agenda here to frame black people in a sense. And it's sad, again, I say, when black people buy into that white way of thinking. I find it tragic because...
So Bishop speaks on the fact that there are so many black mentors out there that are mentoring interracial people, black, white, Asian, whosoever. And when these people leave and they tell of their experiences and how their ministry grew, they don't mention those black mentors. He says that it's supposed to mean that, or it's supposed to say that, you know, they are rubbing out the impact of black Christians or black mentors within our Christian history, right? And so he speaks on that, and I find it so overwhelming and true as well, because within the country that we live in, he speaks on it in another clip that there are so many people who are still trying to colonize or take advantage of our country. So it's either inbound white Afrikaner people as well, or outbound Asians, whites, and United States and so forth. So he speaks on these things so that he can bring it in onto the table to say that we need to be vigilant as Christians, right? That's why I always say when I'm sharing the word that we need to be able to get into political spaces, and we need to be able to cause impact as Christians within corporate companies or corporate sectors, so that people can be able to know that Jesus Christ is Lord, and we are still believing in him and living in accordance to his principles, right? So if we take away the stories of Christian black leaders, then black people that are coming, our children's children, when they come along, they will blindly follow again white people without understanding our history and what we have contributed. And it is so unfortunate. He speaks on these things not as to say that he is bitter, but to say that it's important for us as black people to be able to address issues of racism within our local churches, especially in South Africa. Let's check out this one where he speaks about second grade pastors so that you can be able to understand from which perspective he's speaking from.
Or abantu
Yeah, they will
basemakhishini.
make sure with me I couldn't pastor once, but Pastor Ray was the pastor for all.
Oh
of
yeah,
us.
look.
So it's very interesting.
And when I got to know about that service, and you invited me, and I started
Yes.
coming, and I must say, Mfundisi, maybe I'll tell you after these many years, I didn't only come because I was your friend. I also came because I knew what you're dealing with.
Okay.
And I was also aware of the way our people, when they are among white people, blackness becomes inferior.
So you can see by just that statement, right, that even he's saying that when we are in a council of white pastors, he's talking about Christianity, right? He says that when we are in a council of white pastors, say you are in a meeting where there is predominantly white pastors and you're a black person alone, or you're just four, you feel so inferior, right? Simply because, not because they know better, but simply because they are white. And there's this thing that my grandmother used to say, that when a white person pays you, they make you feel that they pay you. Even as in a Christian sense, when you're working for a white church or a white leader, you can feel, they make you feel that we are paying you, and you know, not because you're not producing, but simply because they are white and you are black. So he speaks on that as well, that even when we are in a meeting, you know, in a council, or when we are congregated with white people, we feel so inferior.
I was aware that you are dealing with being looked at a second grade pastor. I didn't tell you at the time.
So this is by virtue of being black. By virtue of being a black pastor, you are now considered a second grade pastor.
My coming wasn't only to support my friend, but my coming was to make a big statement about the fact that labantu basemakhishini abantu.
They are sisters.
And this man is a man of God. Yes. And you know, when I look back, Mfundisi, to see the many people who were produced from that afternoon service, some of the prominent people like Bosoli Matlango today,
Yes, yes.
who started singing in that service, by the
In
way.
our
You gave him the
culturals,
platform.
yes,
Yeah, he wasn't even known in the country.
Yeah.
And the many people that have gone through those hands. And I think there still is a conversation
But
to
would
be
you
made.
say after 30 years of our democracy,
These are the things that I know that a lot of people face them in a corporate world, right? There's a lot of black people who quit their jobs because of all of this mess, right? So I'm just bringing it on the table to say that we need to be able to be vigilant, and we need to be able to understand that this thing is not only in corporate senses, in corporate sectors, in community society. It's also within the churches, and pastors are also going through it. And now Bishop Sono speaks about this later to say that, and it's unfortunate that these young couples now, they go to these white churches and they don't support a black pastor. If they would support a black pastor, then that black pastor would be able to grow in his ministry, number-wise, spiritually wise, financially wise, as an organization, to be able to impact our community as black people. But now what we do is, he speaks on this a lot. We then go to white churches, we give these people, we make them feel like they have power. Then at the end of the day, they feel like they're superior over black pastors or superior over black churches. So he wants us to be able to, he's not saying that he's bitter. He's saying that we need to be able to open up our eyes, our spiritual eyes, and be able to support black churches that are near us, so that those churches can be able to grow and impact our communities. Remember, if I'm your pastor within your community, the first people that I care about is my neighbors. I care about our schools. I care about our parks. I care about our preschools, our high schools. I care about our society. So where is the first place that we are going to give as a church? Our community. I live in Sky City. So if I have a church in Sky City, the first place that we are going to give at is Sky City schools, Sky City social programs, Sky City parks, it's going to be Sky City first before the world. Remember, Jesus says that you said Jerusalem, Judea, Samaria, and to the ends of the world. So Jerusalem is key because he's saying that if you support your local pastor, the local pastor will care for your Jerusalem. Your Jerusalem is your community. Then he will go to the city at large. Then he will go to the province. Then it's the country. Then it's the ends of the world, right? So we need to be able to support them so that we can be able to care for our society and our neighbors which are near us. We always complain about people that are drinking, our neighbors and all that, but we don't think to say that let's support our local churches so that they can go and speak to these people and draw them into the church. That's the only way, really, that we can impact our immediate society, right? If you want change in your community, consider finding a Bible-based church within your community. Support the pastor, support the deacon, support the board members. If it is a proper church, support, right? Then the church in itself will impact your immediate community, right? So that's basically what he's talking about. So now we giving white churches and white pastors power to be able to impact their society, to defend their society, but they don't defend our society. Yes, we're getting the word. Yes, we're getting the exciting worship, but at the end of the day, it's not impacting your community, your street, your parks, your schools, where you live. So we need to be able to be wise. Basically, I'm also deciphering what he's talking about, right? So that you can be able to have understanding from a religious perspective, right? When we continue, he speaks on, when I look down, just know that I'm looking at my phone. He speaks on the issue of have we, and this is important, have we as a country, have we changed post 94? Listen.
Democracy, have we changed?
No.
From the same.
No, we haven't.
So will we ever overcome those things? So it's one of
I
those
think
things.
if we talk about it, Mfundisi, and if we teach the younger people something different, hopefully in Libona they will listen and not label us as being bitter, because that's the one other sad thing with the younger people. When we tell this story, they say, no, we've moved on, you are bitter. And I say, look, I've interacted with many cultures in the world. Let me give you one instance. We were in the Holy Land a few years ago. And I think you were on that trip as well. When we went
to Israel.
Yes, when we went to Israel.
We went to the museum.
To the museum of the Holocaust.
Where the Jews brought their sons.
They brought their sons. They showed them what the Germans did to them. And I'll never forget what they said at the end. They said, you must never let anyone do this to you again. And you must never forget what you went through. Now, I say our people mustn't forget, but I'm not saying they must be bitter and unforgiving. But I'm saying the propensity for other people groups to mistreat us as Africans is always there. I mean, even now you realize everybody wants to colonize us. Doesn't matter who they are. Everybody wants to come and exploit us. So if our young people think that these other people groups don't have the propensity to do that, they are very wrong. So I want to say, I don't think where we are back then, in terms of the dynamics of what we're talking about, has left. It's still there, still there. If it's not done by our local white people, it will be done by the Chinese, or it will be done by the Americans and so on. So we have to fight for that space to be who we are and to affirm one another unapologetically and to authenticate people who are leaders among us.
So if you listen to what he said, okay, now he's growing bigger into society. He's talking about society at large. Have we healed? Have we moved on? Have we grown? He says that no, we haven't, right? But also, if you draw it down back to the church, you would realize that a church was a big tool in the times of apartheid to be able to protect people that were engaging in the struggle for freedom, right? Actually, there are pastors within my personal organization who, maybe some of them are late, who were engaged in these, the fight for liberation or freedom from apartheid. And some of them found themselves at school when they were running away, and they started studying the Bible, and they grew and they became pastors, right? But most of them died or passed on without money, without being broke and all that, which is sad, right? So where am I going with this? I'm trying to show you that as Black people, we always complain about white people being superior, white people being dominant in the work field, white people, this and that. But then we always support them and give them money when it comes to churches. We give the offering and tithe. We just enlarge their territories. We don't consider enlarging the territory of our community, being able to give in our community churches, and being able. One thing that I have a lot of petty friends, right? I have a lot of petty friends who are from Limpopo. I have a lot of Eastern Cape friends and KZN friends, right? What I realized with these people is that they come from these provinces and they attend our church. Ne? And when they tithe, they would split their tithe between the home church at KZN, Eastern Cape or Limpopo, and the local church, which is our church where they are attending. Why? Because they are supporting that particular community at home so that they can be able to take care of themselves, take care of the community where they come from. And also they are supporting the community that they live in currently so that we can be able to be to care for our community. So we need to be able to have that mind, right? Yes, tithes and offerings, we don't have a say because they go to God. But then when they come from the house of God, they don't go to pastors' pockets and all that, unless the particular church where they stealing tithes and offerings and they just buying themselves cars and houses. That's a wrong church, right? But then a proper church, they take that money and they create feeding schemes for the immediate community. So we need to think of it that way. We need to think of it that way, that in order for us to impact our community, let's find a Bible-based church, give within that church, and that church will impact our community. I love Pastor Matebula is a wonderful guy. When it comes to giving, he goes far and beyond, right? So imagine if they give at church. Remember at the time of COVID, they gave, and he took some money from the coffers of the church and bought food and gave to people within the community and also out of our province to show that he's feeding and caring for our community and society at large, immediate and at large. So we need to be able to have that type of mindset when we are looking for a church so that we can be able to build our communities. I want you to listen to this part. So that we can close this topic. But
been to their countries.
Exactly.
Yeah, some of them have been there for 60 years.
Oh, yeah.
There's nothing to show.
Look,
so there's a problem in the continent, again, about transforming ourselves.
Fundisi, is even more when it comes to this space here, Rona, of the gospel.
Yeah.
That many of our brothers from the diaspora present themselves as the voice and the men of God. And they go even to an extent of saying there are no apostles from our country, no prophets, nobody who has done. And by the way, I'm starting to have those conversations with those people from the diaspora. And I'm extremely vocal to them and I'm challenging them. But it's the same. Human beings can't handle success. I think as human beings, we've got to accept once things get better for you, it's easy for you to forget what you came from and to look down upon everybody who's still struggling where you are struggling. And unfortunately, our own people in our country don't do us any justice in the way they support these people and I'm not saying they shouldn't. People
Yeah,
should go to any
yeah.
church. But once they relate with them, we are treated as second-grade pastors. You know,
Does it mean we
it's
haven't dealt with our esteem issues?
but that's what I said.
think we,
But I think
what role can the church play there? Because if our educational system
yes,
is also slow in addressing this thing,
Yes.
do you see the church playing a role?
we should talk about it. But remember, we'll do it at the risk of being labeled unforgiving,
Pro
whatever,
against, yeah.
But
A lot of us, as we're going to be closing just now, a lot of us currently want to be able to vote DA, right? The reason why is because a lot of black people they feel like they've been ANC has failed them, right? I get that, but here is the technique that basically he touches it. The technique that they use, you know, as the DA, they will tell you how they were not part of apartheid. No, you are better. You are, you know, we played a role in the liberation of black people and so forth. No, you're being better when you talk about all these issues, right? When you address the issue that you are being mistreated by the white race as a pastor or as a human being, you are considered better, you know, and they look down on you. And he says that we are also considered second grade pastors, right, amongst the white people. What the whole purpose of this video was to be able to bring to light the racism that the pastors are facing, right? Pastors are facing a lot of racism within their colleagues who are white, right? So now what we need to be able to do as black people, whether you're from KZN, GP or whatever, what you need to be able to do is that you need to support black pastors, right? I know that there are so many people that come into our country and they act like, hey, they are high and mighty, they are Prophet Abu Bushiri and all that, and they did wrong things. But there are good Bible-based churches that are built by South African pastors that care for our communities. If we can find that church within our community, study and learn and grow and give, then that community, that pastor will pour into the society so that the society, the immediate society that you live in, can be able to experience breakthroughs in the areas that they struggle in. So it's important for you to look at it that way. So guys, I don't know what you think about the conversation. Just check it out. I'll put a link on my description. Comment down below. Let's have a conversation about this. Do you think that there is racism within your church if you are black attending a white church? Do you think that pastors are actually experiencing racism within their colleagues, you know, who are white? Thank you so much for joining us. Make sure that you hit the subscribe button, hit the notification button. Thank you so much. Enjoy your day.